We are finally continuing our Marvel Marathon Madness with 2015 Agent Carter, a series created by Marvel based on the comics character Peggy Carter. We follow Peggy after the events of Captain America the First Avenger, as well as the 2013 Marvel one-shot short film Agent Carter. Now, while the series does share connections to the MCU and not contradicting any main plots within the universe, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it is not canon, at least not yet. Agent Carter is also similar to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in that the show revolves around espionage and the actions taken by the Strategic Scientific Reserve after World War II, with the show consisting of 2 seasons with 18 episodes in total. So, let us go ahead and jump straight into the plot. We begin Season 1 in 1946, where Peggy Carter, mourning the apparent death of Steve Rogers, returns to work for the Strategic Scientific Reserve, aka the SSR, in New York City following the end of World War II. The SSR investigates industrialist Howard Stark for apparently selling weapons to enemies of the United States. Stark secretly contacts Carter and asks her help to clear his name. Before he leaves the country, he tells her about his formula for molecular nitramine that is going to be sold at a club. Infiltrating the club in disguise, Carter learns that the formula has been weaponized. She shows one such nitramine bomb to Stark Industries scientist Anton Venko, who deduces that it came from a Roxxon oil refinery. Carter, along with Stark's butler Edwin Jarvis, investigates the refinery and encounter lead Bernice, who apparently works for an organization called Leviathan, and escapes with a truck full of nitramine weapons. Before leaving, Bernice drops a nitramine bomb, and as Carter and Jarvis escape, it destroys the entire building and most of the evidence. Carter then goes undercover again to search for the truck with the weapons and finds the address of the driver. Meanwhile, SSR agents interrogate Miles Van Ert, the Roxxon scientist who made the weapons, and also learn of the address. Carter and Jarvis arrive to the house first and find Bernice, who they force to go with them. The three are then attacked by Sasha Demidov, who works for Leviathan, an organization that it now seems Bernice has betrayed. Carter fights him, but he still manages to mortally wound Bernice. Jumping to safety with Carter and Bernice, Jarvis forces the truck to careen off a cliff with Demidov, and the weapons inside implode. Before he dies, Bernice draws a symbol in the dirt. SSR agents Roger Dooley, Jack Thompson, and Daniel Sosa later arrive to find Bernice's body, a woman's footprints, and a hotel key belonging to Demidov. Meanwhile, Agent Ray Krasminski, sifting through the Roxxon refinery remains, finds the license plate for Starks' car that Jarvis and Carter used to get away. Dooley and Krasminski investigate Demidov's hotel room and discover a typewriter. Thompson and Sosa, meanwhile, take Jarvis in for interrogation, and the former threatens him with revealing an old treason charge to an immigration officer. Carter, feigning ignorance, botches the interrogation to get Jarvis out and receives a stern reprimand from Dooley. Carter and Jarvis then follow the sewer system below Starks' vault, through which Bernice took the stolen technology, to the docks, where they find the weapons on board the Heartbreak, a ship bearing Bernice's symbol. Jarvis anonymously gives the SSR their location, while Carter fights off a guard who had been working with Bernice. Carter and Jarvis are then forced to leave him behind as the SSR arrives. Now, while being transported back to headquarters by Krasminski, the guard is about to identify Carter as the woman interfering with the Stark investigation, when an unidentified assassin kills them both. After learning that Bernice and Demidov were supposed to have died during the Battle of Inno, Dooley travels to Germany to speak with Ernst Müller, the Nazi colonel who led the opposing forces. And though he doesn't learn how Bernice and Demidov survived, Dooley does discover that their Soviet forces were seemingly massacred before the Nazis even arrived. With Carter's only job to collect lunch orders, she meets up with Stark, who has secretly returned in the wake of his technological discovery. Looking at photographs Carter takes of the weapon, he identifies one of them as the Blitzkrieg button, which he claims can cause a permanent blackout throughout the city. However, a suspicious Carter opens the device to find a vial of Rogers' blood. Angry at Stark for lying to her, she hides the vial. Otto Mink, the criminal who smuggled Stark into New York but was scammed out of his money by Carter and Jarvis, follows Carter back to her apartment, but he is killed by her new neighbor, Dottie Underwood. Carter then decrypts an encoded message received from Leviathan through Demidov's typewriter for the SSR, learning that Stark will be selling weapons to Leviathan at a Soviet military complex. Thompson is set to stop the sale and apprehend Stark, and he is forced to take Carter when she enlists the help of her war comrades, the Howling Commandos. They learn that young girls are trained at the complex to infiltrate the US as sleeper agents, and realize they have walked into a trap when one girl kills one of the commandos. Soviet soldiers attack the team and Thompson freezes under fire, but Carter ensures that they escape, along with imprisoned psychiatrist Dr. Ivchenko. Meanwhile, Underwood, who is actually a sleeper agent trained at that complex, discovers the photos of Stark's weapons in SSR custody when searching Carter's apartment, while Sosa realizes that Carter is the person interfering with the SSR's investigation. Carter and Jarvis then investigate the woman that Stark has been involved with over the last 6 months, believing that a female Leviathan operative may have been the one used against Stark and to kill Krasinski, but their search is unsuccessful. Sosa, meanwhile, reveals to Dooley that Carter is an apparent traitor, and all agents are tasked with tracking her down. They eventually do corner her and Jarvis, but Carter fights them off. During the commotion, Dr. Ivchenko, who is actually working for Leviathan, hypnotizes Agent Yauch, who reveals that only Dooley can access Stark's weapon. Yauch shows Ivchenko how to get out of the SSR before Ivchenko kills him. Carter retrieves Rogers' blood from her apartment, and as she tries to escape the building, she is knocked out by Underwood, but not before realizing that Underwood is the Leviathan operative. Underwood is about to kill Carter when Thompson and Sosa arrive. She feigns ignorance and the agents arrest Carter. As Carter is resisting interrogation at the SSR, Jarvis appears with a fake signed confession from Stark, promising surrender if Carter is released. Carter sees Ivchenko communicating in Morse code with Underwood and reveals the truth about her own investigation to her colleagues to gain their trust. Ivchenko hypnotizes Dooley and has him steal one of Stark's weapons from the SSR's labs, a gas cylinder that Underwood and Ivchenko activate in a crowded cinema before leaving and locking the door behind them. The agents find Dooley wearing a Stark experimental vest given to him by Ivchenko, which Jarvis explains will explode with no way to deactivate it. Dooley jumps out of the window moments before the device detonates, killing him but saving everybody else. The gas in the cinema makes many in the audience become maniacal and attack each other violently. And when an usher arrives soon after, the entire audience is dead. The SSR discovers the gas cylinder in the cinema and realizes that Ivchenko possibly plans to turn all of New York on itself. Stark returns and explains that he had developed the gas, named Midnight Oil, to give American soldiers extra stamina during war, but it caused psychosis and led to them killing each other. Now, during World War II, the American military stole Midnight Oil and used it on the Soviets at Finau. Stark believes that Ivchenko, real name Johann Fenhoff, blames Stark for the ensuing massacre, and allows the SSR to use him as bait to draw Leviathan out. Now, the plan goes awry when Underwood distracts the agents while Fenhoff kidnaps Stark and uses hypnosis to convince him to drop the gas on Times Square. At Stark's plane hangar, Sosa apprehends Fenhoff while Carter defeats Underwood, who does escape, and then she convinces Stark not to drop the gas on the city. Carter later discards Rogers' blood in the East River, finally moving on with her life while Fenhoff is imprisoned with the scheming Arnim Zola. We move on to Season 2, and it's 1947 in New York City, where Chief Jack Thompson and Agent Peggy Carter apprehend Soviet spy Dottie Underwood. Meanwhile, newly appointed Chief Daniel Sosa of the Los Angeles SSR office meets with Detective Andrew Henry, who has discovered a woman's body in a frozen lake during a heat wave. Sosa, doubting his inexperienced agents, asks Thompson for backup and he sends Carter. An autopsy shows that the body glows in the dark, likely caused by Isodyne Energies' particle accelerator. Carter learns from isodyne scientist Jason Wilkes that the woman, physicist Jane Scott, had an affair with isodyne owner and prospective Senator Calvin Chadwick. Underwood is taken into FBI custody with Thompson's mentor Vernon Masters warning Thompson of greater forces than the SSR that may affect his future. Henry attempts to kill Wilkes but is killed himself by a police officer. Henry and the officer were hired to cover up the murder by Chadwick and his actress wife, Whitney Frost, following the former's affair. Chadwick then meets with the secretive Council of Nine, who shut down his Zero Matter program due to its seeming lack of results, and want him to focus on his Senate ambitions. Chadwick then informs Frost, who is the actual true brains behind the program, as she is struggling with her acting due to sexism in Hollywood. Wilkes, meanwhile, meets with Carter to help her with her investigation. Though he is hesitant to turn on Isodyne, as they are the only company willing to hire him as a black man. Wilkes explains that Isodyne had attempted to replicate the success of the Manhattan Project, and in doing so had discovered Zero Matter. Scott must have come into physical contact with it, though its effects are not limited to freezing. Carter and Wilkes agree to steal Zero Matter, but at Isodyne they find council agents destroying the program. Wilkes then gets to the Zero Matter where he is confronted by Frost, who is there to steal it herself. They are exposed to the substance in the ensuing scuffle, leaving Wilkes presumed dead and Frost having absorbed Zero Matter. Afterwards, at Frost's behest, Calvin frames Wilkes as a communist spy who had infiltrated Isodyne and destroyed the facility. Thompson comes to Los Angeles to clean up the situation at the invitation of Masters, and he sends Carter back to New York City where she enlists the help of Howard Stark to investigate the Arena Club, whose membership pin was worn by the Council of Nine agents, but unfortunately she is unable to prove that the council has blackmailed Chadwick's senatorial competitor into dropping out of the race. Carter then misses her flight, and after unsuccessfully confronting Frost, she's attacked by council hitman Rufus Hunt, barely fending him off. Investigating a gravitational anomaly around Carter, Stark discovers Wilkes is alive but temporarily invisible and non-corporeal, and he goes in search of his mentor for help in restoring Wilkes' body. Frost then absorbs her film director with newly discovered Zero Matter abilities, and Masters introduces Thompson to Chadwick to celebrate the latter's now guaranteed senatorships, convincing Thompson that Carter was right. Now in a flashback to 1920 Broxton, Oklahoma, Agnes Scully, who is Frost, is shown to have a brilliant mind, fixing a broken radio, inventing devices, and applying to a science program at Oklahoma University, but unfortunately she is unsuccessful due to her gender. In 1934, Cully travels to Hollywood where she is approached by a talent agent promising to make her a star. In 1940 in England, Carter, who is engaged, receives an offer to join the Special Operation Executive due to her work at Bletchley Park as a codebreaker. She eventually accepts the offer and leaves her fiancé after her brother's Michael death in the war. Back in 1947, Carter and Jarvis take Rufus in an attempt to learn more about the council. After getting names of members of the Council of Nine and location of transcripts of their meetings, Carter and Sosa prepare the SSR to infiltrate the Arena Club, but are then stopped by Masters. They let a bugged Hunt escape, and he attempts to blackmail Chadwick in exchange for protection. Now, displeased with the mess he has caused, Frost absorbs Hunt, revealing her abilities to Chadwick. Now, Wilkes becomes drawn to the Zero Matter in a sample of Scott's body. After absorbing that small amount, Wilkes temporarily regains his physical body and discovers the location of Jane's body. Carter and Jarvis attempt to get Scott's body, hoping that the rest of the Zero Matter within it will restore Wilkes permanently, but they arrive to see Frost taking the Zero Matter for herself, before convincing Chadwick to help her steal an atomic bomb from the council so she can replicate the original discovery of Zero Matter. They then seek help from Frost's ex-boyfriend, Joseph Manfredi, a crime lord who gives them men for the job in exchange for Chadwick's influence in the media. Carter, Jarvis, Sosa, and some SSR allies break into the Roxxon facility holding the bombs and disable them before Frost can reach them. Carter then confronts Frost, but she escapes when Carter is impaled on a rebar. Sosa then accidentally reveals to his new fiancée that he has feelings for Carter, and while Wilkes comforts Carter as she recuperates, his form begins to fade away. Desperate to stabilize himself before he's completely drawn away, Wilkes designs a containment chamber for himself, but requires more zero matter. Carter realizes that Frost is now the only source of zero matter, but is still too injured to get it herself. Instead, she breaks Underwood out of prison, sending her to one of Chadwick's campaign events with Jarvis. The event is also a cover for a Council of Nine meeting, with Chadwick having convinced them to see Frost, who they usually never speak with outsiders, let alone women apparently. Masters and Thompson are also at the event. Jarvis then distracts Thompson while Underwood collects the zero matter from Frost using a device designed by Wilkes. Sosa then tells Carter that his fiancée left him due to his supposed feelings for her. Underwood eavesdrops on the council meeting, watching as Chadwick betrays Frost and has her restrained. Frost destroys Chadwick and half of the council, proclaiming herself leader of the remaining council members. Masters and Thompson capture Underwood for Frost. Frost and the Council of Nine then cover up her murder of Chadwick and the other members, and Frost makes Manfredi her second in command. With the help of Jarvis's wife Anna, Wilkes uses the zero matter and containment chamber to restore his physical form, though he knows he cannot leave the chamber for long. Masters tries to interrogate Underwood before Frost reassigns him to finding the uranium that Carter and the company stole from the Roxxon bombs. Frost interrogates Underwood herself using her abilities and learns that Carter wanted the zero matter because of Wilkes and his condition. Frost sets a trap luring Carter and Jarvis away from Wilkes. Masters then attempts to get Sosa to cooperate in retrieving the uranium, and when he refuses, has men attack him at home, forcing Sosa to take leave. Masters then takes over the Los Angeles office of the SSR. Frost and Manfredi kidnap Wilkes with Frost, hoping to help and study him. To slow down Carter's pursuit of them, Frost shoots Anna, and while Carter and Jarvis are focused on saving her, Underwood escapes. Afterwards, Frost tells Wilkes that if he accepts the power of the zero matter within him, then he will be able to control it. Carter and Sosa meet with Frost, giving her fake uranium in exchange for Wilkes. Frost soon realizes the ruse and pursues them. Wilkes, meanwhile, learning to control his abilities and change between corporeal and non-corporeal states, turns on Carter, demanding that Sosa reveal the location of the real uranium. Sosa directs him to a vault at the SSR. Anna survives surgery but sadly loses the ability to have children. Thompson overhears Frost telling Masters to retrieve the uranium, but is incapacitated by Masters. Carter and Sosa join Thompson and, along with Jarvis and the new gamma cannon courtesy of Stark, travel to the Isodyne atomic testing area. Wilkes is sucked into a rift created by the now armed atomic bomb, but the cannon closes the rift and returns Wilkes, now full of zero matter. A revenge-seeking Jarvis shoots Frost, but she survives due to her zero matter. Jarvis and Carter are taken hostage by Manfredi's men. Carter and Jarvis escape capture while Thompson and Sosa return to the SSR. Manfredi sets up a new lab for Frost in an abandoned facility where she begins trying to take all of Wilkes' zero matter for herself. Thompson convinces Masters to use the gamma cannon against Frost, and then visits Frost, warning her of Masters' treachery and offering to turn on him in exchange for a seat on the Council of Nine. Thompson then turns on Carter and Sosa, delaying them and revealing that he intends to remote detonate the cannon to kill Frost, Masters, and Wilkes. Thompson turns Masters over to Frost, but the SSR managed to jam his detonator signal before he can detonate the cannon. Carter tries to get Wilkes out of the building, but he refuses to leave knowing what he has become. Thompson holds the others at gunpoint until his signal is unjammed, though Carter is still unwilling for Wilkes to die. As Frost begins killing Masters, he notices that the cannon is being activated. Wilkes finds them and unleashes all the zero matter from within himself. The episode, season, and series culminates with Frost absorbing the zero matter released from Wilkes, who is then rescued by Carter, as Stark returns and aids in their escape. Thompson finds in Masters' possession a supposedly incriminating file on Carter and a secret Council of Nine key. Manfredi becomes concerned with Frost's behavior and her new obsession with opening another rift, this time with a machine of her own design. He meets with Stark and the others and agrees to distract Frost while Carter and Sosa photograph the blueprints for Frost's machine, which Stark and Wilkes build themselves. They open a new rift and Frost is drawn to it. They use the gamma cannon to expel the zero matter from within her into the other dimension. Frost is left absolutely insane from her time controlled by the zero matter and is placed in a mental asylum. Thompson gives the secret key to Carter, who is convinced to stay in LA to be with Sosa. Thompson then prepares to return to New York but is shot in his hotel room. The shooter then takes the file on Carter, and that is where the story concludes. So, this was such a fun series overall. I really enjoyed it. Haley Atwell is fantastic as Peggy. She really embodies the role perfectly, and the supporting cast was just as great. The sense of espionage and thrilling detective vibes mixed with the vintage scenery and environment was such a good deviation from the usual MCU films and shows, and I loved it. The rhythm this show sets is unique compared to others, as it follows its own stride, both season 1 and 2. To me, the coolest thing about this show is the mashups of post-war espionage and comic book heroism and fiction to be really entertaining, as the thrilling adventure Carter goes through truly vibes with the MCU, but also carves its own path. Also, Sosa jumping later on from this show to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was so cool. He is such a gem. The entire cast had charisma and cleverness to them that kept me intrigued throughout the show, and made the thrill of espionage even further entertaining. Peggy is no superpowered individual, and yet it did not deter from the fact that she is a superhero with an awesome presence and gravitas to her. Sure, there are some weak moments here and there, particularly within the second season, but overall, I had a wonderful time with this adventure, and I would have loved it if they had gotten a third season. So, I would highly recommend you all to watch this series. You will not be disappointed. Now, the next TV shows I will cover will be the Netflix Marvel Universe, starting with the 2015 Daredevil and ending with 2017, The Punisher. So, stay tuned and do share your comments and thoughts below, as well as please do consider hitting the like button and subscribing. I would truly be grateful. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for spending your time with me. Until our next adventure, you all stay classy.